Seahaven Towers. And we're going with a bit of a less fancy, more classic style deck tonight. The Triumph Neon Lights deck. I've used this in a few videos before, but I think it's been a while. Seahaven Towers is a FreeCell type game. I actually thought about playing it during my FreeCell video, but I ended up focusing on games that were invented before FreeCell in that video, whereas this one was most likely invented afterwards. The most popular implementation was created by Art Cabral in, I hope I pronounced his name right, in 1988, but he insists that he did not make up the rules for the game, so it's likely older than that. But it has pretty similar features to FreeCell and Baker's game. It's got the empty cells where you can store cards, but it stacks in suit like Baker's game. And I think the biggest difference is that most of the FreeCell-style games have 8-pile tableaus. Seahaven Towers has a 10-pile tableau, which is pretty interesting for this sort of game. So, let's deal out the first game and go over the rules quickly. So like I said, this game is dealt on a 10-pile tableau. So we will be laying out 5 rows of 10 cards, overlapping. Now 10 piles of 5 cards is 50 cards. You might be wondering what happens to the other 2 cards. So when you're done dealing the tableau, you're left with 2 cards. Put them both at the top in the center. This is where the cells will be, and I'll explain what that means in a sec. So the goal of Seahaven Towers is to build up 4 foundation piles from ace to king in suit. We'll be putting the foundation piles up in the corners here. So 2 of them will be over here, and 2 of them will be over here. They're built up from ace to king, so you find an ace and you move it to the foundation, then you put a 2 of the same suit on top of the ace, then you put a 3 and then a 4, and you go all the way up to king, and you do that with all 4 foundation piles. This main area here is called the tableau, and on the tableau we stack in descending sequence by suit. So for example, a 9 of clubs could be placed on a 10 of clubs. Since this is a one-deck game and we stack in suit, that means that every card only has one other card upon which it can be placed. We're only allowed to move 1 card at a time, so if you build a sequence, you're not allowed to move the whole sequence together as one. You can only move each card individually. If you manage to create an empty space by moving all of the cards out of a pile, the empty space can only be filled by a king. In order to help us organize our cards, we have 4 cells, which are here at the top. 2 of our cells start with cards in them. The other 2 are free from the start. We can place any card into an open cell and hold it there for as long as we want, until we find a valid position to move it to, either on the tableau or to the foundation. If we manage to move all the cards to the foundations, we win. If we run out of moves, the game is over and we lose. So that pretty much covers it. Let's get started. Right off the bat, I can see we've got a few aces to take, so that's good. I think I want to work on these spades, so let's move the 5 to here, the 4 to here. We'll move the ace to the foundation. The 6 can go over to the 7. Now we'll move this 9 over here to the 10 to free up a cell. We'll move this 5 into a cell, take this ace, and then take this 2. This is pretty tricky. There's a lot of paths that feel like they almost work, but I can't quite find anything that leads me to somewhere that actually feels like it's making progress. For example, I kind of want to move these 2 to the cells, move this king to the empty space, we can move the 3 to the foundation, and if we could move this jack, we could put the queen and the jack back onto the king right there, but we can't get to this queen. We would need to move this 9 and 10 off first. The jack is right here, we move the king to the foundation, then the 10 and the 9 go over, but now we don't have enough empty spaces to move these both to the cells, because one of our cells is now used. Okay, I think I have something. Let's move these to the cells. We move this to the foundation. The 4, 5, and 6 of spades also go to the foundation. Then we move the 7, which frees up that cell. We can move this jack there, then this queen, and this jack, and then this king. There we go. Now I think I want to move this to the cell. This 10 can come over here onto the jack, freeing up an open space for this king of hearts. Now we'll move the 10 and the 9 onto the jack here, freeing up the queen, which we can move here, then move the jack onto the queen. Now let's move the queen to a cell. The 5 goes here. This 2 of clubs goes to the foundation, the 8 of hearts goes here, and now the queen can go back, and we can use these 2 cells to transfer the jack, 10, and 9 onto the queen. So this is going very well right now. We can move the 10 over here, the 9 and 8, and now we can move the 7, 6, and 5 onto the 8. And look at this nice big clean heart stack we have right here. We can move this 8 over here, free the 3 of clubs, so we can take that. Now the 5 can come out of the cell. Let's move this 9 to here. This queen can go on the king, the jack, and 10 of clubs. Come over here, and now I think this game is definitely going to be a victory, because everything is just falling into place now. Yeah, nice. So our first game tonight is a win. That was a pretty tricky one. I was, usually when I record these videos, I cut out all the time I spend thinking about my moves, because it's just kind of me sitting there in silence and it's not very interesting. But on this one, I was actually in a think for, I think, 4 or 5 minutes before I made a move, because I wanted to look at all the options and I wasn't seeing one that did what I wanted to do. But I eventually found it. It just took a bit of looking. There we go. Seahaven Towers, game 1 of the night. A victory. let's shuffle up for a second game. I really like the difficulty balancing on this one. It's very winnable. I believe the win rate is like 85-90%, something like that. But it's still pretty challenging. I rarely get wins in this game that are just total pushovers. Because I do love FreeCell, and one of the reasons that FreeCell is so well loved is because of how well it's balanced. But you do sometimes get those deals in FreeCell that feel like they just solve themselves and you don't really have to do anything. It does happen sometimes. But that does not seem to happen in this game. It's a bit of a tougher one. Let's give it one more. Then start our second game. I'm hoping we can win at least 3 tonight. I don't know how many we're gonna play, but let's try to win 3. Lately, and I just wanted to say thanks for everyone who's been leaving comments on my videos and subscribing and everything like that. I'm really having a good time doing this channel, and I'm glad other people seem to be enjoying it as well. If you have a solitaire game that you'd like to see me play, it can be a traditional solitaire game, or it can be something else, like I just uploaded a game of Scoundrel, which is solitaire in the sense that it's a single player card game, but it's not this sort of solitaire game. But I'm looking to play more of those sorts of games, so if you have suggestions, just let me know, and I would be glad to try them out. Alright, so we've got an ace to start. We've got some 2s very close to the surface. If we move the 2 to here, we can just take the 2 and 3 of spades. Do we want to do that? I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. Let's just do it. Seems like a pretty safe move to make. Now, I think I'm going to do this. Let's move the 2 of clubs and the 10 of diamonds to the cells. We'll take that ace, and then we can take the 2 and 3 here, and then we can take the 4, 5, and 6 of clubs, freeing up one of our cells, and we can free the other one up by moving this queen onto the king of spades. We can move that jack over as well. Now let's move this 5, 7, and 8 over here, and then we take the 4 here, take the 8 of clubs, free up this cell by taking the 2 of clubs, and then we take the 5 of diamonds here, and the 6 of diamonds here. By the way, I should bring this up, since this is a one-deck game where you stack in suit, there is never any reason to leave cards on the tableau, so as soon as a card can be moved to the foundation, you always want to do it. There's no downside to it. Let's do this. Move the 8 and 9 to the cells. That lets us take the 7, 8, and 9 to the foundation, and the 10. Now this game is looking pretty good. I think this is okay to do. We move those to the cells. The 2 can go here. Now we can move the 10 over onto the jack. And I think we move this 10 here. This goes to the foundation. This queen comes over here. Now we can move the 3 and the 2 onto the 4 of hearts. Now let's move the jack and the 10 onto the queen. This 7 can go to the foundation. This 9 and 8 can now go over here, and we free that cell by moving the 7 of hearts. Now this 10 can go here. We can move this 6 here. This 9 can go on the 10. We'll move this 4 of clubs to the foundation. And now we have finally freed up that king, although we don't actually need to move anything to it now. Let's do this. Let's move this king to the cell, take the ace, then that queen goes back into the empty space, and we can move the queen onto it. And we can just take all of these spades now to the foundation. This 5 can go as well, and this game is looking like it's pretty much done. 2 wins in a row, very nice. We like to see that. Alright, 2 wins, and both of them pretty clean. That one wasn't as tricky as the last one, I thought. I didn't have to spend as long of a time thinking. It was more straightforward, but it wasn't easy. I still did have to slow down a bit. Alright, game number 3. I don't know if I'm going to be able to win 3 in a row. The fact that I won both of those might give you the impression that this game is not very hard, but my win rate for this game is only like 60% or something like that. So it's very unlikely that we'll win every game tonight. But winning the first 2 is a pretty good way to start off. It reaches a point where, even if I lost every other game tonight, I would be happy because I won the first 2. So that's good. Let's give it one more. Alright, game number 3. We've got an ace on the bottom, but I think we had an ace on the bottom of the last game as well, and we still won. pile's a little low. Hopefully I don't run out of room, but that rarely happens in this game. Usually your piles don't get too long in Seahaven Towers, so no starting aces this time. Closest ace to the top is that one, and the 2's right here. Unfortunately, the jack to put this 10 on is in our cell, and the queen is all the way down there. Let's see if this goes anywhere. Now already this could be bad news because we stacked four diamonds on top of these lower diamonds. So potentially making a big risk there. And I think it's really tempting to move this 9 to here so we can move the 2 onto the 3, but I think if we do that, the game is actually lost, because then we have... Remember, we can't move cards as groups, and only a king can be moved into an empty space, so if we moved this 9 here, we could technically still get this pile to an empty space, but we would need all 4 cells open. That just seems really unlikely. Why did I put this ace here? I put the ace in the wrong spot. Okay. I think I want to do this for now. We'll take this 10 to the cell. The ace goes to the foundation, so do these 2's. This jack goes over to the queen, and then we take this ace of clubs. Now what king do we want to put there? We don't even really have one that we could put there. Obviously this is the one we really want, but we don't have enough free cells to do that. I think we made some mistakes, and I have a feeling we lost this one, but we're gonna keep going for now. So will we ever get all 4 of our cells to free those low diamonds? I don't know, I guess we're gonna see. So put this here, take the 3, 4 and 3 go here, take this, and now we take the 4, 5, and 6 of hearts, and we get the ace of spades. Okay, hang on. Is this actually going somewhere? This looked so sketchy, but it genuinely seems like this is actually going to be winnable. There's all our spades, just like that. And the jack and 10 go here. King goes to the empty space. We move the queen, jack, and 10 over. Here's the problem, we need 4 cells. How do we get all 4? Is it possible? I unfortunately don't think it is. As close as this looks, I think we have no way of getting this stack off of that pile. This 8 needs to go to this 9, but we have to move the 5 and to get to the 9, and then the 5 has nowhere to go. It has to get to the 6, but we would need to get rid of these. This 6, 5, 4, the 7 is up here. We trapped it. I think we did lose. I'm just giving it a little bit of extra thinking just to make sure I'm not overlooking something. Yeah, I think it's over. I'm just gonna make as many moves as I can to the foundation, which would be this line right here, which doesn't win, but it does get a lot of cards to the foundation. Whoops, I meant to put the 8 first, then the 9. Yeah. So, as expected, able to undo it. A kind of rare loss where you get a lot of cards to the foundation, but you still manage to lose. That doesn't happen very often. Usually when it happens, it's a result of some bad plays, which is the case in this one. But an interesting game. I think you don't really see games like that very often, so maybe it was interesting to see. The game looked so winnable. But that stack on the right side, just could not get around that. So I think we're probably gonna do one more tonight. So far we have 2 wins and 1 loss. Will we end on 3 wins and 1 loss, or will we go even 2 wins, 2 losses? I would like to win, but it is Solitaire, and that's not always how it works. Alright, last shuffle. The final game of the night. That's 10, right? Yeah. Whoops. And our 2 cells. We start with an ace in the cell. That is always good to start with an ace in the cell. Because now not only do we start with an ace, but we also start with 3 cells. And getting one of those starting cards out of the cell can be one of the hardest parts. Okay, I think I've got a few ideas. I don't know if this is going to go very well because I'm filling up a lot of my cells, but I'm hoping these will be temporary places for many of these cards. Covering this 2, both of these 2s, is a little scary, but I want to get this queen and king right there. And this jack and 10 on top of them. Now we take 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if we do this, we can move the 9 to here, and then the 8, so we keep one of our cells open. And we've got a pretty good heart stack right here. As soon as that 2 becomes available, we take this entire stack to the foundation. Let's get this king and queen to the bottom, freeing this 10. And we can move the 9 and 8 from here. and the 7 and 6 from here. And now the 5. And now we can move this 5 over to the 6. This jack can go onto the queen and king. The 4 goes here. Finally we get the 2 of clubs. I've been eyeing that for a while. Let's get this 10, 9, and 8 onto the jack. Alright. This is looking pretty good. Seven, 6, that frees the 2 of spades, and now we take the 2 and 3. This whole pile of hearts can go to the foundation. Now we take 4, 5, 6, 7, and the rest of the spades, and I think we won this one. Nice. I will definitely take a 3-in-1 record for tonight. That is better than my average session of Seahaven Towers. 75% win rate, like I said, that's higher than I usually get. So I'm definitely happy with that. There we go. Alright. 4 games of Seahaven Towers, 3 wins, 1 loss. A very nice session. Definitely happy with how that turned out. And that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this game interesting and this video relaxing. If you're like me and you think Solitaire and ASMR are the perfect combination, consider subscribing to my channel. I upload videos like this every week, sometimes multiple times a week. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a relaxing night, sleep well, and thanks for watching. Bye.